Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Let's Talk About the League podcast, the only podcast on the internet talking about the LCUS and the past weeks and the future weeks. I'm Ace, joined by Sig Tao, the commissioner, and this week we have two former champions joining us. We have Option 12 Prowler and Option 12 Trufflesaurus. How are you guys doing tonight?
I'm doing great. I've had a little bit of time to decompress after last week's games, and I'm doing great.
Yeah, same in the same boat, and having a couple days to kind of get out of the split and the disappointment. You get to a better place.
How are you doing, Sig?
I'm hunky dory peachy keen.
As well, you should be. So, we're coming back after 1 week break from the podcast, but no breaks from the LCUS. Last week, when we missed it, we missed the review of Week 7. So, just a quick overview of what happened that week. The Dino battle happened between Take the Lantern and Option 12, as ended with a 2-0 for Take the Lantern. Team Phoenix 2-0'd Team Blitzcrank, making it so that Blitzcrank did not get any wins this split. Last place team, the last two splits, both had one win, I believe. And then in the final set, Northern Storm 2-0'd White Wolf Gaming, knocking White Wolf Gaming out of the playoffs for the first time in LCUS history, the millions of years it's been going on, as well as stopping Cowbell from making it into the playoffs. Northern Storm advanced to go on to face first place team Take the Lantern, and Team Phoenix ended up playing Option 12 for the semifinals. So, in the semifinals, the first set of games was between Take the Lantern and Northern Storm. That was a very close set with Take the Lantern 2-0ing, but coming back from behind both of the games. Did you guys watch either of those games? I know you were warming up for your set later, so I'm not sure if you did.
I did have the stream on and was watching them as we were practicing. I believe Northern Storm had a pretty sizable lead at the beginning of both games, and then Lantern's macro play just kind of outdid them.
Yeah, I was sort of in the same spot. I was just kind of watching out of the corner of my eye, but I do remember thinking that Northern Storm was putting up a great fight, but I don't think that that's something that pretty much every team can put up a great fight in the LCUS, and oftentimes TL does fall behind initially, but just like every other game, your late game team fight at macro play carried you through. So they were good games.
Yeah, I was pretty surprised to see Baconlicious pull out the Irelia mid lane. That was we were thinking that it might have been from washed up top laner, but no, he went on the Nautilus, which was interesting choice for their team to do.
Really interesting to pick the Irelia after picking Lulu. Two champions we haven't seen Bacon play in the LCUS at all, and two very kind of surprise picks for the mid lane outside of just his champion pool.
Yeah, and I know we've been on Take the Lantern. We've been keeping our pick bans pretty hush hush. So I don't know if anyone really knew that we were planning to ban Malzahar and Syndra. So it's kind of surprising to see him have the Lulu, because he played it 3 games prior, at least in solo queue, prepping for that set, which was kind of weird to see him switch it up like that. But no, it was cool. Go ahead, sorry.
The target banning, I know we bring it up all the time in the cast, but Ace, I know you always get a ton of target bans and all that. So we do mention it, but it does change the dynamic of the pick ban phase, so drastically. What I'd really be interested to know is if Baconlicious was prepping those as a specific counter to you, or if the fact that he got shoved off of his comfort picks or his primary go-tos, if that was sort of like a decision that he was hoping he didn't have to do, or if that was actually something that he wanted to opt into.
Yeah, I know the Lulu, at least for our games versus White Wolf 2 weeks ago, was a high priority pick for both teams. So it's possible that they were watching those games and saw that we really liked the Lulu and was hoping to steal it away. But it's impossible to tell. We were prepping for the Oriana mid and the Caston mid, because those were some things he was spamming in solo queue as well, but didn't end up pulling them out. But good to see, I'm going to say, an assassin type champion in the mid. That's not Fizz. Yeah, anyone else? Sig, do you have anything about this set?
Nothing new. I will say that, as always, it's nice to see these pocket picks come out, and we always want to encourage that. It's fun to cast coming from the production side of things, so keep it up, everybody.
Yeah. 5 bans in the mid lane, at least. And 2 new picks with the Lissandra and the Irelia. Anyhow, set 2 was between Team Phoenix and Option 12. 2-0 for Team Phoenix, not for not for lack of good games. Option 12 was without Menards or Klagstrong, and ended up having Arcane Soda sub in. So as you two were in the set, so there's no better person to ask. What did you feel about those games? I know it must have not been easy to come away from that.
I know one of the first kind of like issues that we ran into was as we were getting ready for the games, we're messaging our sub ADC, who's right now. He messaged us back to let us know that his account was banned. Just so you know, we've been looking at his champion pool. He had played a lot of Lucian and Kai'Sa and Jinx, so we were kind of looking at those as possible picks and the priority we'd have to place on those. And last second we get Arcane Soda, who was happy to help us out. It was so different. Like all of your prep seemed kind of, and I know the games felt rushed, and I was pretty sad about the outcome.
Yeah.
I think we lost more than just bot lane at many points in that game. I just felt kind of off that whole day. Not that it means anything other than I played poorly, but it just was hard to get started. Option 12 usually gets going early and then keeps going. And I think there was just a bit of a failure to launch. And certainly that's how it felt to me.
Yeah, and not to take anything away from Team Phoenix either. They played a great set, and they've been, as the casters said, on quite the roll the past few weeks with Evil Envy playing Jinx is one of the only Crit 80 carries being played currently. And as always, weird picks coming out of the top lane, and jungle like the Nunu and the Nautilus. But yeah, so that means that heading into the finals is Take the Lantern versus Team Phoenix. First finals without Northern Storm. But with that being said, there is no patch this week, which is kind of interesting since it's been 2 or 3 weeks since the last patch. I think that's just because Riot is doing like their mid-season hold off, waiting to do like a little bit larger of a patch when they're coming up. But what do you guys think about not having a patch this week? Do you think it's good for the finals that there's no champion adjustments, or would you like to see a little bit of a change that teams had to adjust to?
I kind of view balancing and patching and changes to the game in general, isn't even LCUS necessarily, but just in general, as a necessary evil to try to even out the playing field so that any one champion can play, or that any one strategy could work. Within reason. So in general, I'm not upset to see that there isn't a patch, but dialing into specifically the LCUS tournament, I'm actually really excited to see that there's no patch, because that just gives our teams one more week to refine and practice and, in theory, put out a better performance, just with that much more consistency. I'm sitting up here with my fingers like an inch apart, like you can see that, but just a little bit extra consistency leading to what I hope is just a little bit extra performance and quality of games.
I guess I look at it from the other side where League changes so often that part of being a good player of League of Legends is being able to adapt and adapt very quickly. We're seeing, professional players being benched because they can't adapt to the meta, and I think that doesn't mean that they're necessarily a bad player, or, not necessarily. Yeah, I like that we're getting away from special and that we're getting into you need to have a ubiquitous knowledge of the game in order to perform well, that you're not segmented into this role does this thing only. And I think that's very good for the game, and I think it's very good to see what teams are better outside of just, I have a really good AD carry in my team, he always gets ahead, and we always get the AD carry ahead. I like that it's changed different, and I think that having a patch dropped in right on top of the finals would have made it really cool to see which team is working on prep harder, and who's putting to really win the third split here.
That's fair. Yeah, I know there were yesterday there were some tentative Zoe changes coming in, which would affect Van Hohenheim a little bit. There's a tentative 10 damage increase to Pantheon stun, which that's just gonna toss him right back in the meta. 10 damage. Whew. But no, that's for sure. There's definitely I know when the AD carry patch came out, I think that was during like week 3 of the split, that definitely shook things up, and that would have been an interesting change to happen this week. But unfortunately, no changes. So with that, we'll move on to the sponsor piece from this week. The episode 8 of Let's Talk About the League for Split 3 is brought to you by The Simple Soyman. They are a local soy foods and health foods company selling plant-based products to all around southeastern Wisconsin and northern Illinois. That is The Simple Soyman, bringing soy foods to Wisconsin for over 30 years. And so moving on to the finals, as brought up before, it is Take the Lantern versus Team Phoenix. One of the biggest calls out for me is that Team Phoenix managed to 2-0 Take the Lantern during the split already, so they might already have the upper hand. What do you guys think about this matchup? What about you, Sig?
I've said it before. This Phoenix has never went down to try and rise up. They've never really tasted heavy defeat. Evil Envy showed complete and utter domination during the semis. Jinx just a complete and utter monster. Van Hohenheim, Nebulon, Amaya, Alonzi. It's a solid roster. It's so hard to go up against that. And this is a well-performing team, players individually. Nebulon being the only new piece. Amaya played with White Wolf Gaming during the first 2 splits, and they always made its playoffs. Triple Strike during the first split. Van Hohenheim, Evil Envy, Alonzi, Tardis. They've made it. They're strong during the second split. They're strong performers. So it's a hard matchup, especially for you guys. Take the Lantern. You've performed well, incredibly well, really breaking the curse of the team. But this is just going to be a brawl.
Yeah, they have a lot of good players on their team. They benefit from one of the same things that Take the Lantern benefits, of having a mid laner that draws a few target bans to really open up champion pools, such as the Nunu coming in from Nebulon. Most of the other Nunus we've seen so far, such as Spicy Hot Memes, have just been tank Nunus running around, with Phoenix pulling out the AP Nunu. That is an interesting pick.
The Predator AP Nunu, that really caught me off guard, personally.
That was like watching a building fall down casting that game.
So just to give you guys a little insight into our games, Ash away with Morgana in the second game. And, of course, Morgana has the black shield that can absorb magic damage. We knew Nunu was in the area in our topside jungle, and we kind of moved up towards them to scout out a little bit, saw Nunu coming, and we heard the Predator pop. The snowball came, shielded herself, and the snowball melted her and over half of her health. And we were all just quiet for the next 10 to 15 seconds before someone finally said, "What?" And then, I mean, that's when you just start questioning, like, are we even going to be able to do anything? You can't run from this Nunu.
Yeah,
I,
Nunu's.
I forget if I actually question mark pinged, but like I seriously thought about doing it.
Yeah, I mean, Predator boots give 25% of your bonus AP as damage to there, and doesn't have that long of a cooldown. With how crazy Nunu's AP ratios are and his blood boil, they give even more AP. That is something that hopefully we don't have to see this weekend, because that's crazy.
An AP Hecarim.
That was beautiful to watch. that was a spark going off that lit a keg that blew up a building that led to a continent sinking.
That's fine as long as you're not one of the people in the building.
We were at a loss casting that game. What do you say? And the new pressed E. Oh, the team died. That Morgana that you just called out, that Morgana play where he landed that, I was like, oh, she put up the black shield. Everything will be fine. That is insane. He even got a kill off a proc from the Runic Echoes, and it just blew my mind, the ratios that he had. Oh, that was chills down my spine. Someone get me a drink.
It's really too bad they aren't nerfing it this non-existent patch.
I was playing Urgot the second game, and I saw Ashaway go down shielding herself. I returned to base, just pushed my B button immediately, and I bought a Hex Drinker because I did the two. I was at a complete loss. It's just, I'm done. Like, I don't know how we win.
Yeah, no, like, it's one of those cheese picks where I don't even have an answer. Like, there's no knowledge bomb to drop. It's just like, that is awful to play against.
I mean, it is a Nunu. That's kind of his specialty, but
it's just awful. Yeah.
And he wasn't even that consistent with his ultimates. He would catch one or two, but it was just the slow. It made fighting him so stupid looking. Like, it's just like he'd come in and you guys would just scatter.
Yeah.
Instead of being very far ahead in the game.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's going to be an exciting set of finals with a new champion coming out of it. Anyone else have anything about the final set between Take the Lantern and Phoenix? Do you guys?
Well, I kind of interrupted you. I think you're working through all the players, and we just sort of jumped on this new thing. But I do want to actually call out the bot lane, Evil Envy and Alian Z Tardis. I never say that right, but because they played a great game. That especially the Jinx in game one was just insane to deal with. And by deal with, I mean try to deal with and then be murdered in like a second as the tank. You know, they played a great game. Van Hohenheim's always pretty terrifying, and Amaya Chen did. I forget what champions he's playing, but I know he played well. I'm trying to remember who he was on, but
Zed and Nautilus.
Yeah, I can actually say, I asked after the game what the Zed pick was about. You know, of course, we're all pretty connected in the LCUS, and I've never seen Amaya Chan play Zed, and he hasn't. It was a misclick, something that's been really common in the champ selects the past 2 weeks. I know, again, kind of inside knowledge here, White Wolf Gaming in a do or die game picked Callista, that their AD carry had played once before. Also a misclick, they were trying to draft Kai'Sa, but if you don't have Kai'Sa and you type in KA in your search bar, Callista is what's come up, or what will come up.
Yikes.
So yeah, some just, we had a Kindred misclick earlier in the game too. I think there were a lot of issues where champions were selected, not because that was what that was intended, but because we're overthinking these champ selects too much.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. No, I think it's gonna be a good set. Matchups across the board, and they have the 2-0 advantage. Do you guys want to make predictions?
Well, I will say the 2-0 advantage was also with a sub. Just had been taken out for Shaken Not Stirred, who's one of the premier players in the LCUS. So your team's always going to look better if you can get one of the best players to come in and help you out. So the 5-on-5 of TL versus Phoenix hasn't happened yet, and I think that's up in the air, especially with how well Phoenix's bot lane has been playing the past couple weeks. I think they're playing on another level, and it'll be interesting to see what Andy AoE has to deal with it. I know he's been spamming the Lucian in a lot of the games, and it's been getting through because Ace yourself's been banned so much. I wonder if they won't try to kind of target the bot lane and let Evil Envy get rolling as best he can.
Yeah, that was the week that we played Phoenix. That also was Evil Envy's first week. Funnily enough, taking over for Port Swimmer. Yeah. I won't pressure anyone into predictions.
Oh, I got one right. I'm
Okay.
just waiting my turn. I have a pretty bold prediction here. I'm gonna go with 3-0 Phoenix. No, I'm just kidding.
And with that, thank you all for tuning into the podcast. Ace is gonna go cry. Talk to you later. Okay.
But no, I do think it's gonna be a great series, great split. I'm thinking it's gonna be. I think it's gonna go to Game 5. I'm gonna give it to Take the Lantern just because I've gotten beaten or Option 12 got beat 2-0 by both teams in consecutive weeks, and actually the TL tongue lashing felt worse. So I don't know how it's gonna work out though, because I think both teams have a strong carry that they like to let power through, especially towards the mid and late game. And I do actually give the edge on that bot lane to Take the Lantern, which is why I'm giving them the ultimate victory in the series, the 3-2 victory. But it will be really interesting to see how the teams allocate like their resources. That's kind of what I'm looking forward to in the next on Sunday, seeing who does what and how it ends up working out.
Sure.
I'm actually, again, having the perspective as Option 12 of being the team that got beat 2-0 by both of these teams in the finals, and Phoenix's games felt like they snowballed out of control against, which is, it feels really bad, but I don't think that's always indicative of how a team can play in the long term. Whereas Take the Lantern out-macroed us so well that I think when you look at something, when you look at who's going to beat who, the team that's consistently able to put pressure in different lanes, like Take the Lantern is, with being able to split this 5 here and have the ultimate engage, I think that gives them the edge. And I have Take the Lantern winning it 3-1 in the final.
I'm gonna be the spoiler here, guys. I'm gonna give it to Phoenix. I'm gonna say it's 3-1, and I'm going to say the deciding factor is, if I'm wrong, it's going to be because of a dynamic performance from Andy AoE. Ace, I hate you. Van Hohenheim is your equal. From a casting standpoint, I would say toe-to-toe, you guys measure up pretty evenly. He's a monster. You're a monster. Terrible people all around. But if he performs well against Evil, who's shown a dynamite performance since his launch with Phoenix, then that's going to go to Take the Lantern. But I think the spoiler in this fight is Nebulon. Nebulon has been a machine this entire split in the showing incredible presence all around, and I don't know if Lucky can keep up with that pacing. So if Nebulon's able to take care of Amaya or Van Hohenheim, and Evil's able to keep up with this pace that he's set over the past multiple games, it's going to be very difficult to beat this team Phoenix.
Yeah. I'd actually say Hohenheim is better than me. He's beaten me 7 times, and I've beaten him once in the LCUS, despite winning the split last split. I've only beaten him once out of 3 splits. So we'll see how that game goes. I won't give a prediction because I hope I win. So, yay.
Yeah.
It's league bias like that really upsets the player.
Right.
I just want to echo Sig's thoughts. I know I already went, so sorry, but
It's all right. I gave a correct answer, so you can change yours to be just like mine.
I'm sticking with my 3-2 prediction to TL, but I do want to agree with you that I think that TL's victory condition is going to be whether or not Andy and Gregosaurus can create an advantage for themselves. And not to say that no one else is playing. I just think that that's what it's going to come down to. And I think Phoenix's win condition is going to be whether Van Hohenheim and Nebulon can create some sort of advantage or pressure elsewhere, or maybe shut down the bot lane. I think that those are going to be the two teams' win conditions.
I suppose to kind of pile on, when Phoenix did play against Take the Lantern, we saw Maya-Chan kind of spiral out of control in a game on Yorick against Darien. Personally, I think Darien is one of the most underrated players in the league, if not the most underrated. And it was one of his only bad games that I've seen all split. I was really kind of surprised. He's normally so great at playing safe in that game and being an asset to his team with hyper-engaged tanks. That it didn't happen there, that it didn't work out, it was weird to me. And I think having the ability to review and see what was going wrong there, I think that gives Take the Lantern a huge advantage, knowing one of the ways that to beat them.
Yeah. I hope we see 5 games of Anivia. All right, so on to the question and answer. We have a bunch of questions that are left over from previous weeks, and a few that were submitted via Facebook and Reddit for this week. We'll just get started from the top with one question that was submitted last week was, which role do you think is the safest to play?
That's easy. It's spectator.
Not if you see an AP Nunu, then that's not easy.
I mean, no role's the safest to play when you've got an AP Nunu that can one-shot you. It's just, everyone's at home with knives just trying to figure out what to do.
Right. You can't even adaptive helm that because it takes so long to cast a second Q that that passive goes away. So I'll start. I personally think that top or jungle are pretty safe roles to play. Not going to say easy roles to play, but safe roles to play. You can kind of AFK farm if your team doesn't play me to death in the jungle and in the top lane. And you can still play a champion that is like a tank and have an impact in those roles without being too much of a detriment to your team. But just my thought.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'll you.
As a top laner, even better. Sick, get in there.
No, I'm playing.
No, as a top laner, I'll kind of echo that top lane's one of the safest roles, especially if you're playing the bottom side of the map. It's escaping me whether that's red or blue. I believe it's blue. Because there's no easy access for the jungler to gank. If you're on the red side, where they have the little tri-bush they can hide in, it's a little bit tougher. But I don't think there's a safer place to be than on a hyper tank, playing on the blue side and just being able to sit back in your little aisle there, with your turret to protect you.
Yeah. Truffles?
Yeah, I guess I kind of have a dual answer because I can tell you that as red side, because I do play a lot of support and I'm just as bad at support as I am at jungle, so I'm often find myself in losing lanes in bot lane too, and I feel I actually don't mind being pushed under turret and that kind of stuff as a support player. I know it sucks for CSing as an ADC, so I'm actually saying this as a support. If you're red side bot lane, if you have a losing lane, okay, you just hide under your turret. And if you have a winning lane, then you ward and you're okay. So my answer is, if I'm blue side, I want to be in top lane, and if I'm red side, I want to be the support. So that's my answer.
Fair. Yeah, no, that's fair. Sig, any input?
I couldn't say anything that hasn't been said. Now I might say it better than y'all, but we'll just end.
Okay. Next question was submitted through Reddit earlier this week. Does Evil Envy's performance on Jinx, on top of the buffs to Jinx, prove that crit 80 carries are still viable? Any thoughts?
I think that his incredible performance on Jinx is it's proof that lightning hurts. It can strike, but it's not going to strike often. I don't think this is any kind of evidence of anything. It was a very traditional matchup into a traditional matchup. So no, I don't think this is indicative of anything.
Yeah, I agree. I think 80 carries are fine. But if they get to the point where they're able to snowball, whether that be early kills or late game enough that they're able to get their items, it helps that Jinx did get buffed and comes with all that attack speed built into her kit. But I don't think that that means that crit 80 carries are viable, like every game.
Yeah, it's kind of the like, Master Yi popped off and had 20 kills. Is Master Yi viable? No, Master Yi just got fed, and that's going to happen. That doesn't mean the meta has shifted. It means that Evil Envy had a few individual that were just out of this world.
Yeah, I think that had more to do with Evil Envy's performance than it had to do with Jinx, or crit ADCs as a whole. Are crit ADCs viable? I don't really think that they're. I don't think that they're meta. I don't think that they're the strongest choice you can go with. I think that they're perfectly viable, as in you won't automatically lose a game because you have a crit ADC unless it's Tristana. But I think more accurately, Evil Envy's Jinx was absolutely viable, was absolutely able to hard carry, like ADCs used to hard carry. But that has more to do with Evil Envy's performance than anything to do with Jinx.
Fair. Speaking of great performances, I had a question submitted a long time ago that we haven't had the chance to answer yet, but what substitute player in the LCUS had the best individual game? I've had a long time to think about this question, and I'm going to say LeBron's names from Split 1 last week on Brew City Brawlers playing Warwick. Had like 23 kills or something crazy like that.
Oh, I do remember this game.
It's the reason why I played Warwick so much in Split 2.
Yeah, it was absolutely massive 1v3ing at times. That's probably, for me, the best game I can think of that a subs had.
I don't think I can beat that one, to be honest. I think I'm just going to agree with you.
I'll agree, but in terms of Split 1, I would say consistently, because we had him sub multiple times, Goonstomp, both of his inaugural performances as a substitute were some of the high points of the split in terms of sub performance. So this split rough for him, but he still has an incredible history behind him. I hope he does sign back up.
Yeah. The chat saying Shaking Not Stirred's Nami this split for one of the games that they beat Take the Lantern. That was a scary.
You guys
Nami,
are missing one of the other obvious things. We stepping in for option 12 in the finals last split.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he actually, and he played 4 games I think, but that's actually. Yeah, I actually totally forgot that he was even a sub. As opposed to...
Subbing in for Shaden, who had been such a hard carry for us, where we would just, kind of play the game around him. And our team was built that way, where we just kind of walked in and said, look, most of what we do is just put you on a hard carry and then, work that for us. And Andy was, a nice guy and just said, sure, no problem.
And he's like, did you say Shaden was a hard carry? Hold my beer.
Fair.
But yeah, not to take away from, Shaden's Nami or LeBron's names as Warwick. I do remember watching that game because haven't been so dominant and Brothers had not, as hard as that is to say. And even with that performance by Warwick, they still couldn't pull it out, and that's when it started to get, kind of testy, like, oh, maybe they're just not able to really generate a win here.
Yeah.
Yes, we weren't able to generate a win there.
Sorry, Joe.
Well, just to piggyback off of the Sig's answer with that question, moving on to the next question. Goonstomp was on Team Blitzkrieg, who this year split, whatever, was not able to win a single game, for setting the record for that.
Brew City Brothers thanks them. But...
Yeah, and Take the Lantern from last split. But yeah, what do you guys feel caused the problem for Team Blitzkrieg. They had really good players in all roles that were top of charts and stats and stuff previous splits. But yeah.
I think you called it right there. It's all bullets, no gun. They could never pull the trigger. They could never finish a game strong. I think if we were to come up with a highlight reel, you would see Blitzkrieg in a majority. They would be in 20 minutes out of every hour. They had incredible plays early game. But there just was no driving force to push them forward after you hit the 20-minute mark.
I talked to a few of the players. They think that they were just like missing some, as you said, someone to pull the trigger, someone to shot call for them. It's too bad that they couldn't pull it together.
Yeah, I think shot calling. I think that makes a lot of sense based on just sort of what I've seen. Shout out to our mid laner, to Lysimachus, but he actually made this great graphic to sort of go along with the data that the stats team had put together. And the really telling bit for me was for Team Blitzkrieg. If you look at the structures, and I think wards too, although I think Option 12 actually had the worst warding.
Can confirm we did. Can confirm that we did.
Which is a big problem for us, but that's not what the question is. But Team Blitzkrieg had just absolutely nothing happening on the structure side, which is really weird because they had reasonable damage and their kills and assists. All that was fine. Their gold earned was right there in the middle. It's not a problem or anything like that. But it's just that they didn't secure structures, and I think that comes from the macro play. And I think especially as the players and the teams get more used to the sort of competitive structured 5v5 format of LCUS, stuff like macro play and rotations is becoming more and more important. I just don't think that Team Blitzkrieg had that shot calling necessary to do that macro kind of rotations.
Yeah, I think one of the fun stats you were thinking of there was that they got one inhibitor over the full split.
And again, just to pile on, it's about the macro play, and when you're in a they had that solo queue mentality. They would get early leads by trading well and by CSing well, and then never translate that. And that's because you would see they would get an ace, or they would get 3 out of the 5 players down and go back to base. And in a 5v5, you need to be able to push those kill leads, push the any advantage you have into taking down a structure, into taking a dragon or a Rift Herald, a Baron, whatever you can. And that wasn't there for Blitzkrieg. You saw that solo of, I got my gold, now I have to, it was kind of like I don't want to say a me first, just a different mentality than the 5v5 that we're used to.
Yeah, no, not to take away from them. They played really well, had a lot of steals, had a lot of gold leads going through the stats, and a lot of big plays. I think Udge has the highest damage game of the split of the Swain that he played, and a whole lot of good performances all around. But next split, hopefully it works out differently for that team name.
Yeah, and you said there's always never... Go ahead, Seg, I'm so sorry.
No need to apologize. Well, there's always a need to apologize, but I will forgive you. At the beginning of the split, I'd made the call that Blitzkrieg was going to be a dominating force. Each one of their players had tasted either championships or playoff matches, with the exception of Huge, who was the highlight of Team Take the Lantern for Split 1 and Split 2. Really, any kind of wins they had were on his back. If you were to show me this roster again, if a week from now we were setting up for Split 4 and it was the same players, I would still make the same call that these guys deserve based off of their ability to be a playoff contender.
Yeah. All right. So we're running out of time, but we'll try to get a few more questions in. This question was posted earlier today on the Facebook group. Truffles, you've won games on 3 different roles, mid and support in the first split, jungle the last 2 splits. What's helped you become such a consistent performer?
I That's a good
Scripting.
question.
Very good scripter.
Don't tell them. But no, I think for me, I've actually been playing League since season 2, with a couple breaks here and there, but mostly consistently since season 2. Not Split 2. I mean like the actual 8 years ago season 2, and during that whole time, I've just played whatever. It wasn't until I started playing ranked, which I didn't do for a long time, that I even cared what role I got. I would just sort of fill in wherever I needed. And so I've learned a lot about a lot of different kind of champions just because of that. I think I have a really good idea of how most champions are supposed to work. But I didn't really become, I don't know if I'd call myself good yet, but I didn't get out of bronze, so to speak, until the last couple of years, last 2 years or whatever. Because I learned that learned to essentially use the mini map, right? But I learned to play carefully and stay back, and just sometimes grab the CS, sometimes give up the turret. And once I learned to play to my champion's strengths and to avoid my champion's weaknesses, that's what allowed me to start being consistent as a player. It wasn't until all those pieces fell into place. I think that's why I can pull off different champions in different roles.
Cool. No, that's good advice for most players. All right, and the last question for tonight will be, what champion most benefited from a rework/revert? Anyone have any thoughts on that one?
I'll lead off by saying Swain benefited the most. He went from a character I had never seen in a game before, to being one of the top played both my solo queue games and in even professional play. You're seeing him used all over mid, bot as an ADC. I can't think of a champion whose play increased so much because of because of a rework or revert.
Besides Urgot? Sorry, say go ahead. I have a longer answer, but go ahead.
So yeah, I haven't been playing League long enough to know about the Urgot. He was reworked when I came in.
I would say Scion. He was meme worthy of how difficult his kit was to win with, and now people play him every damn where. So yeah, Scion.
Sion's a good one too. There are a lot of ones. I actually really respect the rework team that Riot has, because I actually, normally speaking, like almost all the reworks. Man, that's a good question. So Kog'Maw got reverted not because it was bad, but because it was too good. So I thought the Kog'Maw rework was really good. I played a bunch of Warwick. He's much better after the rework, but I don't think he's the top one. I had a different one. I'm gonna go with Kog'Maw. His rework was so good that they had to undo it, which is not something that the other reverts had a problem with.
That's fair. Yeah, I don't know. I can't pick one, but Sion would have probably been my first guess. Aatrox seems to be getting up there with people finally figuring out how to play him. But stuff like Taric even.
Oh yes.
I should have thought of Taric. Yeah, Taric is one of my champions. I never touched him in all those years that I played League. I never touched him in his previous state because I just wasn't interested in him.
I played the crap out of him, man. Point and click stun. Thank you very much.
See, I main Leona, so after a certain point, it was a point and click stun for me too. I just had to land 2 skills. But
Oh,
Yeah.
that's just a little
Yeah.
misrepresentation of the truth.
Okay. I think we're gonna close it out now. So we're gonna end with Split 4 signups came out on Monday. They go until the July 24th, which is 2 weeks from yesterday. We recommend everybody sign up as quick as possible. It could, if we get 1 million people to sign up, we'll have to close it, but that won't happen. But yeah, sign up as quick as possible. Split feedback is also out for Split 3. We highly recommend you doing that. That's the only way we can get feedback to actually, like change things for the better, hopefully. The finals are coming up on Sunday between Take the Lantern and Team Phoenix, starting at 5:30 Central Time, and is a best of 5 series. So last split, it went until around 10 or 11 o'clock at night, despite only being a 5-game series. And then we're coming out with a cool little fun charity thing this next weekend or week or something like that. Besides possibly doing an event, we're also looking to get our YouTube channel up to 100 subscribers. And for that, we will be donating to charity of our own personal money for each subscriber that comes in up to 100 in the next 2 weeks. Something like $2 or $3 per subscriber, and we're like 60 people away. So that could be a lot of money going towards a good charity. But yeah, stay tuned. That stuff will be posted on Facebook in the next few days. Thank you all for tuning in. Have a good night.